Hello, hello. Yeah, thank you for having me, first of all. And I wanted to dive a little bit into what time means, maybe. And not that I have any answers whatsoever, but I think it's something we're all constantly thinking about without even thinking about it. There's a few things for me that are connected to this, and particularly in this day and age we live in today, where there's something to me about awareness and listening being awareness building. And somehow to me, when awareness is created, those are moments where I feel time is healthy. I don't know if that's the right word, but I feel those are moments where, to me, it's like, oh, this is worth my time, or this is like worth somebody's time. Like it makes sense because we are helping to create awareness in whatever we do. This can be anything, right? But I feel like, particularly in a city like New York City, where there's constantly the sense that we might not have a lot of time. And then as we're getting older, there's even more the sense, oh my God, maybe I used to have more time when I was younger, which is not necessarily true always, but it's at least seems that way. I think we're, as humans, very eager to constantly look for pockets where things feel very full and exciting, and we kind of sometimes chase after that. But I don't think that, maybe that's not the solution, to chase after it. But sometimes maybe the solution being, and this is very hard for somebody like me who is like a workhorse person who does a lot of things, who loves working, who loves like kind of head forward into things. The lesson that I've learned over time is to sometimes take a step back. Like that's sometimes taking a step back so that you're actually able, that I'm actually able to take in everything, almost a bit like bird view perspective, or kind of just an overview, so that I don't miss or get so focused on just one thing that's just in front of me, but I can actually take in things almost more three-dimensionally. And that, to me, what really good listeners do, is exactly that. It's like an inner state of being almost. It's a practice. It's really a practice to make it less, make it more tangible, make it less mysterious. So I think the practice is, and particularly, again, for people like me who are maybe more, doers and head forward and all of that, and as a younger person and having had to learn that a lot and having had to learn patience a lot, all those kind of things, that is a good practice to do, is this innerly taking a step back, but it's not disengaging, it's actually engaging more in a way. Because again, if I'm just head forward in one thing, I can't see anything other than this one thing. I'm just focusing on this one lens and that's it. But if I take a step back, I can just see and listen on a total different scale. And to me also, being an artist, being predominantly a musician, it's really, but even as a dancer, as a movement artist, or in the theater, or whatever art form we do, visual arts really also, if there's other people involved in particular, that is what we need, specifically, of course, in music and with sound, but also physically with the body. That type of listening, of taking in what is, and taking in what is as it is also. Because if I don't do that, I'm immediately in judgment, right? And then again, my lens is starting to just focus, hyper-focus on this one thing. Versus if I can step away from it and also loosen at least my judgment or my bias, right? Which everybody has. Like it's not something that is, nobody's perfect, right? Like we are constantly always going to have some form of prejudice, judgment, whatever making constant judgment about things, right? That's okay, but like how fast can I realize that and also kind of step out of it and be like, oh, is this now helpful or not? Like, does this help me to be judgmental in this moment or not, right? And so to me, that form of listening is what we ideally practice. And again, there's no ideal, but ideally practice in art. That to me is the kind of listening that I'm interested in as an artist, that I'm interested in as a maker, as a doer, as sometimes just a listener. But that to me creates awareness, and that to me sets a really fertile ground for things to happen, really exciting things to happen. And sometimes in music, but in any art form, sometimes we just say, oh, that's when the magic happens. To me, that's when the magic happens, is when we're that kind of linked and connected and honed into each other almost, where we become just exceptional listeners. And that's exciting. That's always the best music to me comes from listening to each other well. And so the more we age, I think, particularly as musicians, the more we will learn how important listening is, and doing sometimes a little less. And for the doers of us, this will be the great lesson. The great lesson being, oh, right, I don't always just have to do. And for the New Yorkers of us, who are the doers as well, sometimes we have a double, right? That will be a great lesson, I think. And I really believe we can change a lot of our inner and outer environment with that. It can affect people, it can inspire people. And I think, just our creativity is going to fall on fertile grounds with that. So that's a thought. Yeah, a lot has happened since the last video, for sure. I remember talking about the excitement of the rhythm of cities, and like New York really mirroring my inner rhythm a lot. And so many years have passed, and that is still true to a certain extent, but also so much has changed in the pandemic. After, like, even now we're still in some form of shape of that, or aftermath of that. And I think sometimes it feels almost so drastic how much has changed just around me that it's sometimes almost disorienting to me. I'm like, oh my God, everything has changed. So it's really, it's been interesting to navigate. And I've been at times, I'm not saying that there's a successful and a not successful, but at times I've been maybe more successful with that than not. And at other times I have totally fallen on my nose and being like, what? I don't know how to fit into this new world. Everything is going just so fast. It's going so fast. And I'm usually, again, a very fast-paced person as just how I function and the kind of animal that I am. But I feel in these past couple of years, there were incredible things that happened to me and that I've developed and made and built, and personally and professionally, and that I'm proud of and that are exciting. And there's also been a lot of learning that lesson that I was just talking about before, of what is going to serve me in the long run and what is going to feed me in the long run, and the sustainability really being a thing of, oh, I now need to, as I'm getting older, I'm still fairly young, but as I'm getting older, I need to take better care of self-care. Like, just, oh, I will need more time for myself, and that's okay. Like, that's just a kind of new concept in the greater realm of my life. But I'm proud of the fact that I'm really working on that, and that I'm listening to my body, being a total fan of listening, and really wanting to, as much as I can with everything that I do. To me, almost everything is about listening. Like, my work wants to, promote listening. Everything that I practice in my, even in my healing work that I do, it's very much about how can we listen to each other better? How can we listen to ourselves better? What are things that want to tell us something inside and outside? And so the lesson here has been to spend more time with my inner self, with the more slow-paced inner self, maybe the more calm part of myself that needs sometimes quiet and calmness and care, and maybe sometimes also the inner child part that does need, let's say, the care or the attention, and sitting almost with my inner archetypes a little bit more, for a lack of a better word. I love that word. I think archetypes are also very in connection with the word time to me. And so sitting with like all these different parts of me that maybe might need my attention and I might not have tended to as well in the past. I'm learning to do that better for some, at least the parts that haven't been hurt as much. And I feel really well internally. Like I feel healthy. I feel really okay and good despite all of the things that of course deeply affect me and that often don't make me feel good at all because it's hard, like it's a lot is going on. And so, yeah, the outside world, everything has changed in every way possible so fast and so rapidly, so without any little hint or any announcement. It just like happened really, really fast. And I don't know if we're, as humans, heading into it seems like we're heading into this new pace that we've already been in, but it's just like exhilarating. But I don't think we can keep that up for much longer. And I don't know when the turning point will be, but there's already even a lot of young folks who are starting to think about, oh, is this sustainable? Like, can I, work at this speed? Can I be at this speed? Can I, function, do my whole thing at this speed? So it was a bit of an abstract answer, but I feel that all of this plays so much a part. So like it's almost too overwhelming to have I don't have an answer. I just feel it's this multitude of changes and multitude of internal, external, and in relationship with others. There's just so much going on. One more point that I wanted to bring up is the word, or maybe the concept or the idea, or the beauty of community. I think that has changed a lot, what that means and what it means to individuals. And I've certainly had moments where I was really struggling with that because I felt like, but we're, I have a lot of lovely, dear, wonderful people around me, and I do feel well with that, and I feel, I have people I can call if something happens, or I don't feel alone. But there's something since the pandemic, I feel there's something has changed with that, and it became more a bit of a word now, maybe. I'm trying to analyze it, but I might not be successful at that. But it's sometimes just like we're throwing that word around, but it sometimes doesn't land anymore somehow. Like it doesn't feel like it means anymore what it used to mean. And I'm very curious about that. I'm kind of on a quest to a little bit unpack that more because I think it's really interesting to talk about that, particularly in artist communities. And I love talking to my elders, and I love talking to people, who've just been in New York since the 70s or since the 80s or sometimes even since the 90s, where they just have a big comparison, like how is it now, how was it then, how was it over the years, right? And I just keep hearing from people, and I'm just so curious about this. I keep hearing from people that, we used to get together and just and even with me, I've been here since early 2000s, but it's, you could get together and make something and, fall on your nose and fail and just experiment, try things out. And out of that comes I don't know, a piece or a part of a piece or an idea. And you're like, oh, wait, you're cool, let's collaborate. Or something like this kind of lab experimentation style that was probably, in the loft years in New York City, a thing where you just it wasn't about money, it wasn't about I'm not saying that we should all be compensated fairly, of course, for our art, but it wasn't the center point and it wasn't the motivation as much. It was like, we're artists because we need to be artists, period. And we're getting together and we're going to experiment and we're going to do stuff. And maybe something will come of it, maybe not. But either way, it's okay. Like, we love this so much that we will just exchange. There's like an exchange. And to me, when people get together, there's something happening. There's an energetic exchange happening. And something always comes from that. If you don't have to like make it into a piece, but like you could, right? There's something where there's a room of people where there's something sprouting from that. And I'm a person who loves that and who has been feeding from that a lot in my life. Like, I really enjoy being with other artists, making things with other artists, being, creating, exchanging ideas. I love that. I tend to not be the artist, and I can be if I have to, but I'm not so much an artist who's like in the corner, in their bubble, in their room, just, I don't know, writing all day, and there being less of an exchange. And again, that's also great and important that that's out there, but that is just not my personality, I think. And so starting with the pandemic, I've just been having a really hard time with that, I think. And yet I keep refinding, and even like maybe even more than before, pockets of groups of people where I see other people craving the same thing as me, and I'm like, of course, that makes sense. Like, I'm not alone in this, right? So I then find my people again who are also feeling like this sometimes, and starting to get together again more and making things or just exchanging. And to me, that's just so exciting, and that's so much part of being an artist, and part of time, and part of how I changed and how I see the world and how I maybe make my art. It feels the future, again, if you ask me today and now, feels wide again. I think there was a lot of time for me where it was a little, these past couple of years, where it felt like, oh my God, it feels like this. This is the only way. And for whatever surprising reason, I oddly feel very good or open about this next year, this upcoming year, and beyond. In many ways, that might not be true, and I might be naive, and that's in that. I'm very, very aware of things that don't look rosy at all, but I feel, just in terms of like, if I think about myself and the work that I do and the people around me, I feel like we're heading into some form of opening. So I'm excited about that. Let me see what the space tells me. I am seen, sai no ia kai sia witaya pei. I would see okay me and see you cool sad. I only see me ardicai and ne can swim by. I for see a day right to say kain. He was out in the coet see I know you at say on the kain see a kaini habir do ya masaya nikia rio gae si udain si